There's a report, $250 million has been set. You and Pac, has it been set, and have you signed it?
No, that's not true. And I haven't signed yet, and he hasn't signed yet, you know. It's just been speculations and rumors, but hopefully we can make the fight happen.
Nothing signed, just rumors. And so we, the fans, continue to wait. From what you heard last night, Stephen A., are you confident or less confident that the fight will ever take place?
I'm less confident, believe it or not, because NBA weekend, All-Star weekend has passed. Usually when you're going to have a fight, particularly one just in a ballpark of this magnitude, you really capitalize off of marketing something either during Super Bowl week or NBA All-Star weekend. The fact that both of those dates have passed with no deal being signed, I'm becoming more and more apprehensive that it will happen. Floyd Mayweather has told me that he is trying his best. Obviously, he believes that Bob Arum continues to be in the way. There are others that obviously agree with him. I've got contacts at both networks and folks in the boxing community who say the same thing, because Bob Arum is not just going to step aside. But it is undeniable that, you know, ultimately, if Floyd is hell-bent on getting this done, it can get done. So as a result of that, you know, you just sit back and you just say, hey, it is what it is. Me personally, I'm tired of talking about it. I know I have to, though, not just because of the purposes of this show, but I love the sport of boxing. And to me, it's what the sport of boxing deserves. They deserve Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather once and for all. And as far as I'm concerned, both fighters, and I don't mean to be disrespectful because I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just speaking as a boxing fan at this particular moment in time. I'm not really interested in seeing either one of them fight anybody else until they fight each other. I've seen Floyd Mayweather against some of the best. I've seen Manny Pacquiao against some of the best. I want to see them up against each other because I know Pacquiao wants it bad. And as far as I'm concerned, with all the junk Pacquiao and his camp have talked, Floyd Mayweather should want it bad. And since Floyd Mayweather consistently tells us he wants to give us the fights we want to see, the people to fight they want to see, this is the one that we want. I totally get where he's coming from about Arum. I don't think he's making it up. I don't think it's an accident that Floyd has fought several people who were once in Arum's camp that are no longer there. All of those are legitimate arguments that those fights took place after they were able to shake off Bob Arum as opposed to them being under his stewardship. But in the end, the fight game is what it is. And we deserve the fight that we want to see. We want Floyd versus Pacquiao. And anybody who's getting in the way of it, Pac's on their house. Plain and simple.
So, Stephen A., didn't you tell me early last week, that if that fight didn't get hammered out in a couple of more days, there's no way they'd make that, what was it, May 2nd deadline that they were shooting for?
That's right. Right. Yes, sir. Okay. Doesn't mean they can't fight in June or something like that, but, you know.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. I am less confident. I did go back and I did read the report that David Aldridge was referring to last night on TNT that he asked Mayweather about in the London Sunday Telegraph by a boxing writer by the name of Gareth A. Davies. And anybody with a middle initial of A, period, I have great respect for, because they're all trying to be Stephen A. Smith. So again, maybe he knows almost as much boxing as Stephen A. does Gareth A. Davies. All that said, even though this piece had the ring of authenticity, he pointed out that his source was in the Pacquiao camp. We've had lots of leaks from the Pacquiao camp. We've had Bob Arum himself say, we're almost done here. Just need to cross some T's and dot some I's. I still think the Pacquiao camp is trying to publicly pressure Floyd may or may not Weather into taking this fight, almost dare him or shame him into taking this fight. So if Gareth A. Davies' report had been based on a source in the Mayweather camp, I would have been a little more inclined to say, hey, maybe he's on to something. It was a well-written piece, but again, when it's only coming from the Pacquiao side, I'm still starting to doubt that this fight is ever going to happen. And again, I know you brought it up last week, but when Curtis Jackson 50 Cent was in the Sports Illustrated offices last week, he, once again, I know they've been beefing for a long time. They've had a long-standing feud, but he said that Floyd is scared to death, to quote 50, scared to death to fight Manny Pacquiao. So one thing leads to another, and I think that Floyd is still running. And he seemed a little caught off guard last night when he was trying to answer the question, no. Even though you could suggest that maybe he wanted to delay the announcement to come just from him somewhere after the All-Star game. The piece in the London Sunday Telegraph was speculating that maybe he would try to upstage the All-Star game with this announcement last night. Obviously didn't happen. I still doubt it will happen.
Well, I can't disagree with you. I don't know. All I know is that I was disappointed when the weekend came and went, and there was no agreement. And, you know, Floyd has met with Pacquiao. He's spoken to Pacquiao. He's made that clear to all of us. He's also made it clear to all of us that Bob Arum is in the way. Numerous folks, not just Floyd Mayweather, have pointed out some inconsistencies or embellishment on the part of Bob Arum. And you talk about how Bob Arum may be trying to just coax Floyd into making a deal, trying to use the, court of public opinion to pressure Floyd to acquiesce to his behind-the-scenes demands. I don't know. All I know is that, we want to fight. And if Bob Arum is in the way, I think that people who cover Bob Arum should highlight that and point that out. I think that we all, again, I'm going to go to what I keep saying. This platform, this is a nationally televised show, live. I would love for Bob Arum, Floyd Mayweather Jr. to come right in studio with Manny Pacquiao. We can have them for the whole 2 hours if they want to. Let's talk about the differences here and get it done. Whatever it takes. All we want is to get it done. That's all we want. We want to get it done so there's a fight. And we want to expose whoever's in the way preventing this fight from happening. That's what we want.
All right, so listen.
I am so with you, Stephen A.
And empty promises continue. There is no fight, but the fans shall wait. Coming up next, we'll talk about the second half of the NBA season. It begins. Can the Thunder get to and hold on to that final playoff spot in the West? Studies and stats say yes. We discuss in just a few moments. All right, so he didn't leave the 49ers. They left him. Jim Harbaugh said leaving San Francisco, they're not mutual. Alex Smith, former 49er and now Chiefs quarterback, says he was surprised that Harbaugh and the 49ers couldn't work it out. Harbaugh led the 49ers to 3 straight NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl appearance, but they couldn't work it out. I'm saying that with a question mark. Skip Bayless, what does this say about the organization?
I'm not sure what it says about the organization, but I do believe, Stephen A., that what Jim Harbaugh said publicly about this was disrespectful to and unfair to the University of Michigan, for which he now works. It just seems like he's now saying, oh, I really didn't want to leave the 49ers. They pushed me out the back door. And it comes across like, well, I was pushed into a position of having to return to my alma mater, the University of Michigan. And I don't think that's going to sit real well with the people who pay his new salary. That's number one. I do understand, to Alex Smith's point, it is hard to understand how you could run off a coach who in his first 3 years got you to NFC championship games 3 times, and you did win 1 and got to a Super Bowl and barely lost that to the Baltimore Ravens. I get that. It is hard to fathom. But I also think that when I reflect back on what I went through in Dallas, Jimmy Johnson getting fired after winning Super Bowls for Jerry Jones, I knew from the inside out, Jimmy just couldn't work for Jerry anymore. He was burned out. He needed to start fresh somewhere else. He just couldn't handle it. And maybe it was with the same with Jim Harbaugh. Maybe he just couldn't get along with Trent Baalke and Jed York anymore, and he made it such that they had to say, we just can't do this anymore. So I'm sure there's both sides to a story here, but I don't like it that he dredged it back up for the sake of the University of Michigan.
Well, I totally disagree with you in terms of you believing that it was disrespectful to Michigan. The man was just being honest. Everybody and their grandmother knew that he was being forced out as coach of the San Francisco 49ers. It's an NFL franchise, with a championship pedigree, an NFL franchise that he had taken to 3 consecutive NFC conference title games before last year and a Super Bowl berth. And it's the NFL. Who didn't know that he would have preferred to stay with the San Francisco 49ers as opposed to going to Michigan? Michigan would have to be blind not to know that. That's point number one. Point number two, with considering the year that they had under Brady Hoke, particularly last year when they finished 5-7, the Michigan Wolverines don't need to be worried about whether or not Harbaugh indeed would have preferred the 49ers over them. They need to be thanking their lucky stars that he chose to come and coach them, because he certainly didn't have to. With his resume as an NFL coach, there would have been other opportunities for him on the NFL level. When you consider the jobs in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, etc., there were some ideal landing spots for Jim Harbaugh to coach an NFL franchise, but he chose Michigan. So all of those things being considered, I'm not concerned about their feelings. They're very, very lucky to have him. They should be thankful they have Jim Harbaugh. And to me, this is entirely about the San Francisco 49ers organization. Tom Sula, whoever he is your new head coach. For a while there, they didn't have an offensive or defensive coordinator, didn't seem to know where they were going. Right now, there's still some question marks as to who they are and where indeed they will be going. And it seems to be that Ned York, along with Blanky, the general manager, because of egos, because of their personal opinions and feelings, may have very well put this franchise's future in jeopardy. All I can say is that Tom Sula, he better win. Because if he doesn't win, Balky and York are going to feel the heat of the locals in Northern California, because what they allowed to happen is nothing short of inexcusable.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with your final conclusion. But remember, it was portrayed that Harbaugh wanted out, that he couldn't stand working for them. He was clashing with the GM. So don't then reverse field and try to tell me, no, I wanted to stay. They pushed me out. He's basically saying he got fired when he wanted to stay. That's not the impression we were given.
That's not true, Skip. We were given that impression. What we were also given was that he and Balky couldn't get along. It wasn't that he wanted to leave. Nobody said anything about Jim Harbaugh wanting to leave. It was that he and Balky had a contentious relationship. They couldn't see eye to eye. And clearly York and the hierarchy within the San Francisco 49ers organization chose the GM over the head coach. It's that simple. But it wasn't something about Jim Harbaugh wanting to leave. It was about how his relationship with upper management, and particularly Balky, was not the greatest. That was what we were hearing, not that he wanted to leave San Francisco.
Okay, so I think we would both agree that the one thing they do have going for them now is that our guy Eric Mangini is the defensive coordinator.
That's right. They have that going for them, because I think he'll do a hell of a job.
Agreed. Here,
So
here.
do I.
Here. And Jeannie, we miss you. Coming up next, DeMarcus Cousins says he doesn't respect Charles Barkley. Why is that? We will find out right after the break.